I'll call this meeting to order. This is, thank you and welcome to the Goffstown Lions Club Meet the Candidates Night. I should know how many years we've done this, but it's been several. And we took it over from the young junior women's club when they disbanded, I think. And so we've been running it ever since as a community service. I'd like to start out by thanking the committee. Gordon Barnard did a lot of the groundwork putting this together. Thank you, Gordon. The food and refreshments over to the left here are thanks to Richard Meany and Don Domenico. And so they asked me, please partake of the food and refreshments because they don't want to take anything home. Scott Gross, our current president, and I get to sit up here. I'm Fred Plett. I'm the moderator tonight, so I get to stand up here and shoot my mouth off when all these people did the work. How's that for a deal? I want to say there are two microphones, and obviously it's not working for the room, but it's necessary because that's how the television picks it up. So there's a microphone here and a microphone there. No, I won't take a question from the back. You have to go up to the microphone to be heard so that people on television can hear you, okay? I thank Adam McCune, who's here, being our AV guy. Thank you very much. And so I get his wrath if you don't go to that microphone. This is in lieu of a normal Goffstown Lions meeting, and so it's going to be a Goffstown Lions meeting, and we're starting it off with our normal three-point opening. And I'd ask President of the Goffstown Lions, Scott Gross, to lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Yeah. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next thing we normally have is a Lions toast, and we usually do it with water. There's obviously no water, so we do it with thumbs when there's no water, and it goes like this. Not above you, not beneath you, but with you. So not above you, not beneath you, but with you. Thirdly is an invocation. I'm going to ask Gordon Barnard to do that. But I'm going to precede it, I guess, with a moment of silence. Normally when we have moments of silence for someone who's passed on, we're having a moment for silence for somebody still kicking and screaming. He's in the Hillsborough County Nursing Home, I understand, right now. Past International Director of Lions, Larry Emerton, has been in and out of the hospital in not the best of health, but I saw him the other day, and he was kind of cranky, which is a good sign. So just a moment of silence to help him along with his health. Thank you. Lion Gordon?
May we be in the spirit of prayer.
Gordon, the mic. Oh,
I'm sorry. May we be in the spirit of prayer, each in our own way, according to our traditions and beliefs. Dear Lord, once again we come together, this time as, once again we come together as Lions, but this time for a general audience and a service that we provide for the people of this town. Please look with favor on our meeting tonight and bless it with your grace. I would not conclude by just saying thank you, Lord, for the blessings that we have every day in this town, in this state, and in this country. Amen.
All right. Like a lot of meetings, you have advertisements. Well, we have an advertisement tonight delivered by President Scott Gross about the Lions Club. Scott.
Thank you. Thank you, Fred. Well, the Lions Club has been around for a pretty long time. Does everybody know how long? Anyone? Anyone? Long time. Longer than Gordon. We also happen to have a very diverse group of people that are Lions. So all the Lions, would you just mind standing up if you are a Lion, just so everybody know who you are? All right. And thank you. And Sam, why don't you keep standing? And Gordon, you keep standing. Our club has Sam Lewin is 18. And Gordon, you are? Okay, a lot of diversity in our club. And we have, I think, 3 or 4 18 or 19-year-olds in the Goffstown Lions Club, and we have just, again, a very diverse group of people. In case you didn't know, the Goffstown Lions Club does a lot of things in the community. We're here at the high school, so I'll talk about that first. We do provide 4 $1,000 scholarships to graduating seniors if they're attending a full-time college. As you know, we also own Lions Field, and a lot of the student athletes, as well as a lot of little kids in the community, use both the baseball field and the soccer field. So that's something that we're very, very proud of. Hopefully, a lot of you have been to the popcorn stand, and if you haven't been to the popcorn stand, you have to go to the popcorn stand, because it's not only is it a historic popcorn stand, but it's how we raise some of our money, and that's what goes back to the community. But first and foremost, really what Lions clubs do all over the world is they help people with visual and hearing impairments. And just this past year, we helped a local woman with hearing aids, and her daughter came in, and she was almost brought to tears to say how her mom's life changed due to the fact that Lions Club helped her mom hear again. So those are the types of things that we do. I would strongly encourage you. There are brochures for you to take a look at, and we would love to have you as members of our club. So thank you, and I want to wish everyone a good evening.
Thank you, Lion Scott. And I get fined if I don't refer to our Lions as Lion Scott and Lion Richard, and if I've probably already broken that already, so I'm going to pay money as a result. We'll commence the candidates' night part of this with a ground rule or two. We'll ask the contested races to come up first, and then the rest of the races. Each candidate has 3 minutes, and we've got Lion Richard Meany over here sending me high signs, and if you go past the 3 minutes, we send Guido out after you. And so we're kind of serious about that because of the number of races we'd like to get out of here before midnight. And we'll hold questions till after each candidate has had a chance. You all have a chance to ask questions, but I ask, please, respectful, civil, and to an issue. I will not tolerate any ad hominem attacks or personal attacks, which is exactly the same thing. And so no personal attacks, no questions of motives. We're all assuming we're all running for position as in the town or the school for the betterment of Goffstown. And so start with a respectful question. Thank you very much. We'll start with first contested race, and I've got these in alphabetical order. I don't know how they'll appear on the ballot because I guess the first one is by random, and then it's alphabetical from there. But I not knowing which was going to be first, I did it strictly alphabetically. We'll start with 3 minutes from John Burt.
I have a cold, so I'm sorry for my voice and that I'm not shaking hands. I am John Burt. I'm a candidate for Goffstown Selectman, and I'm going to ask for a favor from you in a couple minutes. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am your current state representative. I'm serving my second term. I want to thank the voters for allowing that. Also, I served 3 years on the Budget Committee. I am currently serving on the Solid Waste Committee. If you want more information about me, you can log on to burtnh.com, and that's BURTNH like New Hampshire.com. I have a TV show on GTV, New Hampshire Politics with John Burt. Also, this is real important. Please write this down. My phone number, 624-5084. I want everybody in Goffstown to have that, because if you have a problem when you elect me as a selectman, I want you to have my phone number, and I will answer the phone or return the call if you leave a message. The favor I need from you, I ask for 30 minutes. That's it. 30 minutes of your time. I cannot do this without you. If you want me sitting in that seat, I ask 30 minutes of your time on March 11th to go to the ballot, get the ballot, and check John Burt, just like that. If you do that, I will give you 3 years of my time. So 30 minutes on March 11th will give you 3 years of my time, and I will fight for your property rights and to try to keep taxes as low as we can do it. Now, there's been a lot of talk on grants, and I want to touch base on that. We had Planned Penardville. As far as I'm concerned, that was a disaster. We shouldn't have been in it. It was going to hurt our town. I didn't do it, but I was involved. A group of people got together, we killed it, and that's where it should lay. We have a Ready, Set, Go program. This is to bring more business. This is a bad program. We don't need it. Again, it's a grant that has strings attached to it. I've read it. We don't need it. All we need to do is say we are open for business and we need to reduce our tax rate from $27 and we need to reduce it down to where Manchester and Hooksett and Bedford is, which is around 22, 23. Okay. There are good grants. For example, like a generator. We need to buy those. And if we can get a grant for it or fix a bridge, we need those. So there are good grants out there. Again, my name is John Burt. You can contact me from burtnh.com or give me a call, 624-5084. And again, I ask 30 minutes of your time on March 11th, and I will give you 3 years of my time. Thank you so much.
Next in alphabetical order is Peter Georgantis.
My name's Peter Georgantis, and I am a candidate for selectman. First of all, I'd like to thank the Lions Club for hosting this candidates night, GTV for broadcasting and helping those watching at home to be more informed, and for those here attending and participating. I've lived in Goffstown for 40 years, and it's my hometown. My mom and dad owned a business on Main Street. My brother and my nephew own a business on Mast Road. Our family has served on boards and committees and organizations in the town of Goffstown for over 50 years. I have served a number of boards and committees in town, including the Budget Committee for 11 years, 5 years as their chairman, Capital Improvements Committee, the Charter Commission, the Master Plan Update Committee. I served as a Grassmere Water Precinct Commissioner, and I was also on the Board of Directors for the Friends of Goffstown Softball, and I led the rebuilding of the high school softball complex, which I am most proud of because we did that with no tax dollars. Now I look to be a selectman. Why am I running for selectman? There are some big challenges ahead for our town. Continued loss of state revenue. The state downshifted cost of contractual retirement contributions and added to our local tax rate. Police and fire employee contracts. A revamped compensation plan for our non-union personnel. Hired a new police chief that fits our community. We must continue to fund the police and fire departments that keep our town safe. The highway department that keeps our roads up, plowed, picks up our trash and our recycling. And let's not forget all the things the library, Parks and Rec, and the town hall do for our community. We need to do all these things while trying to maintain an affordable tax rate. I believe that a strong, fiscally responsible presence is needed on the Board of Selectmen. That doesn't mean just cut, cut, cut. I will be that presence. One only needs to look at my record that I've had taxpayers in mind, not only in dollars, but in services. I will work with the board members to build a consensus to make the necessary changes to keep our taxes as low as possible while still maintaining the services that we've come to expect. My opponent has said cut, but typically has offered no alternatives. I say let's make sure we're spending wisely before doing any cutting. My opponent has said no to grants. I say we encourage our department heads to seek our grants, find a way to reward them for doing so. Last year's taxes went up. This year, under my leadership, the Budget Committee came in under the default budget and with a tax decrease on the sound side of the of the budget. In closing, the voters of Goffstown need to know that the Board of Selectmen have their best interest in mind. I will constantly be mindful of that. My name's Peter Georgiantis. I'm running for selectman. I ask for your vote on March 11th. Thank you.
The next contested race that I'm aware of as cemetery trustee. Is Linda Reynolds not in here, or Kent Nolan, or Dennis Sweeney? None of them are here. That's a shame, because a lot of people think the cemetery trustee is a dead-end job. But I have to tell you, it's a very important job. They have a lot of people under them. So we'll go on from here. Okay, the library trustee is the next one. I understand James Matthew Butcher is not going to be. Is he here? Oh, okay. Step up, please.
Hello, everybody. My name is James Butcher, and I'd like for you to give me the opportunity to serve as a library trustee. A little background on myself. I've lived in Goffstown for 17 years now, and been working hard at Godek Paint and Decorating for the past 2.5 years straight now, full-time. So I've been installing floors over there primarily, and I've been taking an interest in politics ever since. Incidentally, that's when I started paying taxes, too. So I consider myself to be physically conservative and generally libertarian as well. I want to start off with one of my favorite quotes. Be the change that you want to see in the world, and that's Mahatma Gandhi said that. Well, that's what I'm trying to do here, and that's what I try to do every day, I guess. And well, the most important reason why I'm here is I want to bring some accountability to public office. When I went down to the town clerk on January 31st, I didn't know exactly what position I would be filing for, so I looked at the open positions, and I knew, though, that I would be filing for an office that was running unopposed. And see, it's very important to me that our elected officials always voice the concerns of their constituents, and when there's no competition, well, it can eliminate this one key aspect of our government. Well, you'll always know that when I'm in office that I'll be available to the townsfolks, and I'll voice your concerns and your comments, even when I don't necessarily agree with them, a la Ron Paul before he retired. And even if I must disagree and go against it, I'll always make sure that the voice of the people gets heard. And you can hold me accountable for my actions at the polls if you didn't think I did so well at my job, but you always rest assured that I represented your voice. Now, here are a few ideas I had for the library. Well, indigent persons who cannot pay their library fines probably need an option to be able to work them off either by volunteering their services or their time, or some way. We really shouldn't be restricting access to the library based on income, and I know as money is very tight for people in town, so it's something that I was concerned about. And also on that note, I always thought that the fine should perhaps be more of a deterrent. They probably just want you to bring their books back, really. And maybe we could give patrons the option of making an equivalent donation to the Goffstown Food Pantry, because I know they're really struggling this time of year, and they could definitely use the help, and I hope that's a realistic possibility. And also, I want to address a letter that I read in the Goffstown News recently. A woman in town went down to the library with her house deed, and her house being in Goffstown, and she wanted to get her card that she's entitled to, like all people who live in town and own property in town are entitled to. And she was apparently that was not good enough, and that needs to change ASAP. So that's all I have for you folks. That's all the time I have. Thank you for listening, and well, once again, my name's James Butcher, and hope you can choose me for your next library trustee. Thank you for your time.
Is Wayne Eddy here? Okay. Seeing not. Mike Lawler? Mike here? Okay. You were supposed to sit up here, Mike. And there's a seat right there.
From out of the cheap seats. I'm Mike Lawler. I've been a Goffstown resident for the past 20 years. I've served on various boards and committees. I'm the last 5 years as either an alternate or a library trustee. I'm also a member of Goffstown CERT. I'm currently the vice chair of the Board of Trustees. I sit on the Accounting and Finance and the Human Resources committees that we have. And I have to say it's been great being part of the library. When I got my first library card at, say, 6 years old, it was one of those things I was very proud that I was able to get a library card. And having been involved with the library, I've seen them everything from the children's programs to programs for older people. I've gotten school books for my daughter. I've gotten books to occupy my father, who's a type A, and frankly, he can fill a library with his needs. I've also been involved in the work to purchase the land next door to the library where the new parking lot is, and I'm pleased to say that we've seen a lot better attendance at library events, and a lot, interestingly enough, door counts are one of the ways that you look at the number of people that go to the library, use the library services. And now where you're able to order books online and things like that, you only go to the library to pick it up. So you would assume that door counts would be down, but actually door counts over the last several years have been up significantly. We have 61 new library card holders as of the last month. So I think the library is doing a good job serving the needs of the people, and I'm proud to be part of that. We'd look for your vote in the future.
Jennifer Phillips.
These things always seem so high to me and look so low on everyone else. Good evening. My name is Jennifer Phillips, and I am running for the Library Board of Trustees. I, too, currently sit on the Library Board of Trustees, and I serve on the Building and Facilities Subcommittee. And thank you to the Lions Club for hosting this important forum. I was before all of you last year running to fill the remaining year on a 3-year term, and I very much enjoyed serving the library in a capacity as a library trustee, and I'm very much looking forward to continuing that work and going for a full 3-year term now. As I mentioned last year, I am a fairly recent Goffstown resident, unlike most of the folks up here who have been here all their lives. I moved to New Hampshire in 2006 and to Goffstown in 2008. And one of the things that thrills me most about living in Goffstown is the proximity. I am within walking distance to the library. And since I got my library card, I have been a rather frequent visitor to that gorgeous building in the heart of town. As Mike said, the library has been doing a great job. They hit a circulation of 100,000 books checked out last year, or items checked out last year, which is phenomenal. I mean, for a community this size, it's wonderful to see those kinds of numbers getting hit. There are many things that continue to impress me about the library, but its people and its programming are at the top of that list. I continue to be amazed at the breadth and quality of the programming offered by the library, and I'm an active participant in several of the programs, including the Writers Club. I firmly believe that a strong library benefits a community and that libraries represent the very best promise of democracy, that access to knowledge should be available to all, not just the privileged few who can afford to buy books, or, in this day and age, who can afford internet access. I would love to continue to serve the library in the capacity of a trustee, and I hope I have your vote. And I'd like to close with a quote from Andrew Carnegie, who said, "A library outranks any other one thing a community can do to benefit its people. It is a never-failing spring in the desert." Thank you.
I have to say I'd frequent the library more often if I could read. Good luck to all of you. Moving on, the next contested race that I'm aware of is Planning Board, starting out with Phil Devanza.
Thank you, Fred. You know, you got me a little nervous there.
Oh, why?
You talked about the dead-end job. Well, no, because things happen in threes, and there's 3 here for 3 running.
Okay, just say that in the mic so people hear you.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Philip Devanza. I would like to take a moment to thank the Goffstown Lions Club and the Goffstown School District for hosting this forum, and also the Goffstown citizens who participate both here and on GTV. I ask for a moment of your time to tell you who I am and outline my experience and commitment to our community of Goffstown. I have lived in Goffstown for 30 years. I have 2 daughters that graduated Goffstown High School, along with one granddaughter who attends Glen Lake. She happens to be right there. I also have a degree in business administration from NHTI, and I graduated Phi Theta Kappa. I am a parishioner of St. Lawrence Parish. Many of you may be aware that I have an antique clock repair business and also have restored many landmark tower clocks across New England, including Faneuil Hall in Boston, Thompson Hall at UNH in Durham, and this summer the Hallsville School in Manchester. As a selectman for the past 23 years, I've been involved in many town projects, most notably the restoration of the Grassmere Town Hall. Other preservation efforts include the historic ice house at Bartlett's Corner in Pinardville and the Minuteman statue on Muster Rock at the Grassmere Roundabout. Goffstown's master plan is a vision of our perception of what we endear as a community. It represents our values and reflects the character of Goffstown as we envision it. Planning board members are charged with ensuring that our planning process incorporates the ability to balance property rights with the needs of our community, maintain the value of our homes, and preserve the character of Goffstown while adhering to the law and local ordinances. Currently, I am serving on the planning board as a selectman's representative, a position I've held since 2009. As we move into the future, I will strive to blend what is old and important to our community with the new growth and development that needs to take place in order for Goffstown to thrive. Goffstown is my home, where my business is, and where I raise my children, and now my grandchildren. I anticipate in living in Goffstown for the rest of my life, and strongly believe in giving back to my community. I have been honored by your support over the years as a selectman, and I ask for your support on Tuesday, March 11th, as I run for planning board, so that I may continue working to keep Goffstown an outstanding place to live, work, and raise a family. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. I picked up on Goffstown for the rest of your life. People ask me if I've lived in Goffstown my whole life, and the answer is not yet. Moving on to John Hikel.
Thank you, Fred. Good evening. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Lions Club for having this forum where candidates and the people get to see each other. Some of you have never met your representatives, and this is a great opportunity for you to all see who you may be electing and who may be representing you in the very near future. I also want to take the opportunity to thank the veterans and the men and women in uniform, especially from Goffstown, and around the world for their sacrifices they make every day to allow us to have an open debate and free speech such as we have tonight. Thank you to all of you soldiers. My name is John Hikel, and I have decided to run for a second three-year term on the planning board. I am a three-term state representative for Goffstown. I've served on the Budget Committee for 7 years, the Economic Development Committee, and 3 years on the Goffstown Planning Board. I fully understand how government should serve the people. I understand the complexities of growth of a border town to the largest city in New Hampshire. I ask the tough questions of our paid officials. I demand the rights of the people to be preserved. I am ever vigilant to protect free speech, reduce government infringement on us, and always a steward of your hard-earned money to reduce taxes and wasteful spending. Beware of the Ready, Set, Go program, folks. It is the Plan Pinardville coming to your neighborhood, and it needs to be controlled. I don't intimidate easily and won't abandon you when you need me most. As a small business owner, I have a unique opportunity to hear the people's concerns as well as their compliments of our local government, and I listen. Remember the saying, when you're taking flack, you must be right over the target. Friends, there's an unprecedented all-out assault on your rights as property owners and taxpayers. My opponents want nothing more than to diminish those rights through their mother may I approach by adding restrictions to your use and enjoyment of your homes, farms, land, and businesses. I don't agree with that, and I believe your home is your castle. In this planning board election, the choices are clear. You either choose to give your board a full authority over you and your property, or you choose to demand all of your rights and be heard by a people-friendly, applicant-responsive, and less regulatory planning board that will enhance your individual property rights and community spirit. As spoken by one of the greatest American heroes, and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from this earth. He didn't say of the bureaucrats, by the bureaucrats, and for the bureaucrats. My door's always open, my phone is always on, and the best number to reach me is 625-8026. My name is John Hikel. I'm asking for your support and your vote on the Goffstown election on March 11th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before I call the next candidate up, Jim Raymond, you've seen Jim as school moderator and town moderator Rod Stark, and you see me sit next to them a lot. And for my action here, don't blame them. I just don't learn very well. So, Jim Raymond.
I'm not sure whether to thank you or what for that introduction, but I'm Jim Raymond. I'm a candidate for the planning board. Thank you to the Lions Club for inviting us. You've just heard from the previous speaker an interesting description of his political philosophy and his view of the role of the planning board. We'll talk about that in a minute, but first I want to introduce myself. My wife Jane and I have lived on Blackbrook Road in Goffstown since 1982. Our two children went through the Goffstown Public Schools and graduated from Goffstown High School. We believe in contributing to the community. That's why Jane served 9 years on the school board and 10 years on the Conservation Commission. As Fred mentioned, I'm the school moderator. And I was on the planning board for 19 years. I stepped down 3 years ago. I didn't run for re-election because I had the chance to be a president of the Concord Family YMCA, which is a challenge I wanted to focus on. I'm a lawyer at the law firm of Upton and Hatfield at its Concord office. Our firm represents over 35 towns and cities. We work extensively with planning and zoning boards. Let's say I'm familiar with land use planning and procedure in New Hampshire. I also represent a large number of small and medium-sized businesses, and as managing partner of my firm, I'm in charge of a business that has 35 employees, owns real estate buildings in 2 communities, and rents in 2 others. I understand business. Why am I running again? When I stepped down 3 years ago, frankly, it wasn't my plan. When I was on the board, we worked hard to develop the town's commercial tax base while retaining the qualities of Goffstown and its neighborhoods that make it an attractive place to live. These accomplishments are now under attack. As the prior speaker made clear, the incumbents running for re-election have substituted a political agenda in place of responsible planning. Responsible planning does not mean that the board should simply allow any application as an exercise of individual rights. Responsible planning also means protecting the investment that we have already made in our houses and businesses. Responsible planning means that we not allow developments that will increase the threat of runoff and floods, as we experienced in the Mother's Day flood, or unreasonably increase traffic on Mast Road. Responsible planning means promoting business growth, but not turning Mast Road into South Willow Street. Responsible planning means following planning rules to ensure fair and open hearings. Responsible planning means balancing, yes, the interests of people who want to develop their properties, but also the protection of your neighbors and communities. The board has lost that balance. This election's important. You can vote for a political agenda that does not represent your interests, or you can vote for responsible planning that protects your property values and promotes responsible growth. That's why I'm running again. I request your support. Thank you.
I didn't see him, but I'll ask. Is Mark Warden here? Okay. That as far as I know, concludes the contested races. So we'll go back and start over, ones we have not yet hit. First is the Budget Committee, Elizabeth Dubrulle.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Dubrulle, and I'm running for re-election for the Budget Committee. Many of you are already familiar with me and my background. I've written a book of local history called Goffstown Reborn. I've been an active volunteer in the community as one of the organizers of the town's 250th anniversary celebration, the former chair of the Historic District Commission, served on various focus groups for the schools. I'm a board member at the Goffstown Historical Society. I'm the webmaster of Tri-Town Soccer, and I'm also a founding member of Goffstown Matters, which is a group dedicated to increasing voter awareness of the issues before us at town elections. When I was elected to the Budget Committee 3 years ago, I told you I was a moderate with conservative leanings. And I have to be honest, in the 3 years I've served on the committee, I think I've become a little more conservative, as my voting record will show. I've also been outspoken in questioning town and school officials about how our government is run and how our money is spent, which is, in my opinion, exactly what a Budget Committee member is supposed to be doing. And I hope I've shown my concern for maintaining a balance between the services we need and the taxes we're willing to pay. This past year, I've been happy to share my thoughts on the budgets and the various warrant articles before the voters by writing a series of admittedly lengthy letters to the editor of the Goffstown News, and they've also been published in various online sources. It's always been a personal goal of mine to bring accurate information to the public so that voters can make informed choices at the polls. So I was very pleased to be able to make the time to write these pieces this year. I've also broken down the dollar amount of each warrant article so that voters can have a better understanding of how these votes will affect their pocketbooks. And you can find that breakdown on the Goffstown Matters website. It was too long to publish in the paper. The Budget Committee election is uncontested this year, and I'm excited at the prospect of serving with such colleagues as Dave French, Pam Manney, and David Pierce. But let me now just take a moment in regards to these electoral contests in general, that in my opinion, deciding who you're going to vote for isn't a matter simply of finding someone whose views conform to your own. It's also about deciding which candidate do you trust, because at the end of the day, when you vote for us, you're showing a sign of trust. You have to trust us to gather relevant and accurate information. You have to trust us to exercise sound judgment in making decisions that are in the best interest of both our community as a whole and the individual people who live in it. And you have to trust us to be able to explain these decisions to the public. Honesty, integrity, fair play, and good judgment. These are the qualities that all of us should be seeking in our candidates, and this is the standard to which I hold myself as your representative. I hope you support me on March 11th.
David French. That's a tough act to follow, Elizabeth, so thank you very much. My name is Dave French. Some of you may know me from my prior life. I spent 32 years as the Parks and Recreation Director for your community. I've lived 36 years here in the community and have 2 children that went through the Goffstown school systems. Some of you may know my older daughter, who I won't mention how old she is, and my 21-year-old son will be graduating from St. Michael's College in May. I'm running for Budget Committee. Some people, especially my wife, asked why I'm doing this. And I guess it's because I believe in community. Some of my background has been that I've been president of Goffstown Junior Baseball on 2 different occasions, Goffstown Babe Ruth Baseball, Goffstown American Legion Baseball. I was an original Optimist Club member. So I've been involved in this community for a long time. And I looked at the Budget Committee as I kind of think that I might bring a unique perspective to it. As I look at my friend Dick Fletcher out there as an ex-department head person, I'm hoping that I can give a different perspective
kind of both sides of the table as we look at budgets. I can tell you that when I received my tax bill last, whenever it was, December, I was a little upset. And I think that got me to thinking. And when I started to think about it, I decided that maybe it's time, instead of talking about it, try doing something about it. So I hope to bring an even and common sense approach to the budget process. And I want to thank the Lions Club for doing this forum tonight. And thank you very much for being here tonight and being involved in our community. Thank you very much.
Pam Manney.
Hello, everyone. My name is Pam Manney. Thank you to the Lions for having this event here tonight. I'm running for Budget Committee. As others mentioned, it's uncontested. So I thought I'd just come up here and just talk a little bit about myself and introduce myself. I've been on the Budget Committee before. I've been on the school board. I'm a former two-term state rep. I've been on a lot of other things. If you want to know more about me, you can find out more at pammanney.com. But I just would echo what Elizabeth Dubrulle said and others have said, how important it is to run in town and to participate in events and to be a part of the community. Anyways, there's a lot of other people that want to get up and talk, so that's it for me. Thank you.
Last but not least, David Pierce.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you for the Lions Club and having this forum this evening. Yes, the Budget Committee positions are uncontested, and but I'm happy to run again. I've served for 2 years on the Budget Committee and then broke that by serving 3 years as selectman. I'm very happy returning to the Budget Committee. I have a lot of respect for Goffstown, and I contribute in a lot of ways to our community activities, whether it be the Historical Society, helping to build the rail trail in our town. I'm a member of the Goffstown Harvest Christian Church and a strong supporter of a food pantry that they run in Bernardville. And well, member of the Lions Club, as we were recognized earlier this evening. I am conservative, but as I'm a civil engineer by degree and by working in that field for a few years while I was an officer in the Army, I like the infrastructure aspect of a community. It's important that the infrastructure be maintained and responsibly maintained as efficiently as possible. So as a civil engineer, that's the talent that I bring to the Budget Committee, with an oversight and a keen interest in all the infrastructure that the previous residents of this town have put into our community and protecting the assets of that infrastructure. I ask the voters to turn out on 11 March. We've got some interesting races, and as well as some uncontested races, and the reason I'm here. But please come out on 11 March and vote. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Next race we have not yet covered. I don't see him here. Sewer Commission. Stephen Crean, are you here? Okay, I know that position drains a lot out of him. Next, Supervisor of the Checklist. I didn't see Denise LeMay. Are you here, Denise? Apparently not. Town Clerk, Kathy Ball, are you here? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Ball. I presently serve as Goffstown Town's Clerk, and I'm seeking re-election for a third term. I'd like to thank the Lions Club for hosting this evening, but I especially want to thank Gordon Barnard. I got an opportunity to see him running all over the community trying to contact everyone due to the snowstorm, And Gordon, I hope that I'm here at 85 to run around as fast as you did that day to contact everybody. So I think that Gordon needs a real round of applause. For those of you that don't know me personally, I was born and brought up in Goffstown. 35 years ago, my husband Donnie and I built our home along the scenic Piscataquag River in the Goffstown Village area. We now have 2 married daughters, 2 grandchildren, and we excitedly await a second grandson this summer. I feel very fortunate that my children have chosen to become homeowners in Goffstown and raise their children in a community that in a lifestyle that I value. Professionally, I feel privileged to serve as Goffstown Town Clerk, which allows me the opportunity to utilize my business, management, and customer service skills to do a job that fulfills me, and that's be helpful to people throughout this community. My prior career in banking oversaw sales and service management of financial products to individuals and business owners throughout the Goffstown and surrounding communities. Today as town clerk, some of the duties of my office include administration of motor vehicle and boat registrations, vital records, official filings, dog registrations, record keeping, notary services, election-related responsibilities, and a multitude of daily emails and phone inquiries. I couldn't carry out the myriad of duties without the knowledgeable and skilled assistance of Deputy Town Clerk Karen LeClaire and Clerk 2 Stephanie Bodwin. They are dedicated co-workers, and I value their contributions. As we work together, it is my intent that my daily management style continues to build teamwork and fosters a positive, happy workplace, which is evident when you call or visit the town clerk's office. The best parts of my job are getting to greet and assist people throughout the entire community, many that I've known my entire life. I especially enjoy offering a handshake to welcome new people to the Goffstown community. My goal as town clerk is to provide efficiency while retaining fiscal responsibility and the small town atmosphere of friendly and helpful service. Please vote on Tuesday, March 11th. It's important that your voice be heard. Re-elect Kathleen Kathy Ball, Town Clerk. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Town Moderator, Rod Stark.
Good job, Fred. And thank you, Lions Club, for putting this event on again. I haven't been here for a while, but I thought I'd come over and I wanted to hear and see the other candidates, and I'm glad I did. I've heard some good things tonight. I was actually born in this town, in a hospital that doesn't exist here anymore, okay? And I was the one that cast the vote that permitted the town to sell it. Anyway, that was in 1946, so what's that, 67 years ago. That's how old I am. And I've been moderator for 36 of them. 36 years. And 34 years, since 1980. Since George Amo called me up and asked me to take on the job. He was a town clerk at the time. Anyway, it's been a great ride, but I really, really pride myself on my ability to delegate to capable people. And I rely heavily on Kathy, if you're familiar with the election process, I'm sure you know that that's the case. And all of her staff. And there's a host of other people, including our moderator here tonight and school district moderator Jim Raymond from time to time. So that's my main qualification, is I can find good people to do my job. And if you see fit, I would appreciate your vote on March 11th. And I'm impressed with the turnout. This is almost, I don't know what the head count is here, but it's got to be close to the turnout at the deliberative session.
Rod, that's an accurate statement, and it's sad that the deliberative turnout turned out that poorly. But we had a snow day there, too, that didn't help, as we did here. Earl Carroll, I didn't see you. Are you here? Okay. Trustee of the trust funds. Zoning board, is Kathy Wooten here? I am. Oh, good, Kathy.
My friend. Fred used to sell light bulbs to me door to door from the Lions Club. Good evening. My name is Kathy Hooten, and I am running for the Goffstown Zoning Board of Adjustments 3-year term. I am primarily here tonight because I think it's important that people see the face of the name that is on the ballot. I would certainly like to thank the Lions Club for their invitation, Gordon for sending the personal invitation to my home, self-addressed, and then also calling about the snowstorm personally to let me know that it had been postponed till this evening. I'm very pleased to see Elaine Emerton here tonight. Larry was, I hope everybody, if they don't know, was an international president of the Lions Club, which is a highly respected position with the Lions. And I am sure, as they always say, behind a successful man is a successful woman. And it's I'm very pleased to see Elaine here again tonight. I have lived in Goffstown since 1978 with my husband, Jeff. We live on Mountain Road. We have been married 39 years and 50 weeks. I've been a resident for 36 years, and I am presently the chairman of the Goffstown Zoning Board. I am pleased to say tonight we do have a quorum. There are 3 other zoning board members here tonight, so we could vote. In 2007, I ran for the Sewer Commission and for the Zoning Board and was elected to the Sewer Commission, but was not elected to the Zoning Board. Because that year a member of the Zoning Board moved out of the town, I was then voted to be a member of the Goffstown Zoning Board of Adjustments, and that was my first introduction into the Zoning Board. I have maintained and continued to be a member of the Goffstown Zoning Board, and I think it is very important and a very important position in this town. I tried to think about what I was going to let you know or say to you this evening or how to present myself. So I went back into my records, and sure enough, I found an article that I wrote in 2007, why I am running for Sewer Commission and Zoning Board. Now, I'm going to edit out the Sewer Commission issues, but I will tell you that primarily the reason that I am running and have maintained my position as a Zoning Board member is because I feel it is my charge to help to preserve and protect the neighborhoods of Goffstown, whether they are in Pinardville, in the Village, or in Grassmere. So therefore, I ask for your vote on March 11th, and I thank you all for coming this evening.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Alan Yaton, you here? Apparently not. On to school candidates, and I'm going to switch this up some years. School candidates are always last. Well, maybe we ought to make them first some one of these meetings. School board, Steve Dutton, are you here? Thank you, Steve.
Hi, I'm Steve Dutton, and I'm running for school board. I grew up in New Hampshire, and I made Goffstown my home 8 years ago. I previously served on the planning board, and I'm running for school board because I wanted to get back involved in town. The school board provides an opportunity to combine 2 things that are important to me: community service and education. I think that the success of Goffstown schools has been well documented lately, and I want to help our schools stay on that path. High quality education is vital to Goffstown's students' health and future, but also to the community as a whole. And as a parent of children who will grow up in Goffstown's school system, and as a member of the community, I consider it a privilege to assist with and continue the really good work that the school board here in town has been doing. So I thank you for your support.
Janelle Ann O'Brien. Are you here, Janelle? Apparently not. Heather Tresbaz. Did I Tresbaz on that name? Trapez.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Heather Trapez, and I'm running for school board. A little bit about myself. I originally grew up in upstate New York. I attended Mercy College at Dobbs Ferry as veterinary technician and office manager. I worked in the veterinarian field for 12 years. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? I worked in the veterinarian field for 12 years as a technician and an office manager. And my husband and I moved to New Hampshire about 11 and a half years ago. We've been in Goffstown for 6 years now. I am now a stay-at-home mom to 2 children. My son, Joseph, just turned 9. He's in 3rd grade. And my daughter, Abigail, is 6 in 1st grade. They both attend Maple Avenue School. They started in kindergarten at Glen Lake School. Since they've been in school, I've been a member of the PFT, which is the Parents Association. I have been room mom. I volunteer regularly at the schools, and I'm very involved in my children's education. When I heard of an opening on the school board, I thought about what a wonderful way to be a part of something so important and a way to give back to my community. I'm invested in our children's education and would like to contribute my time and efforts on the school board. Thank you.
Before we go on to Q&A, did I miss anybody? Apparently not. I will say again that there's refreshments over there, and we don't want to take them home, so please help yourself. And if you miss having some, well, that's the way the cookie crumbles. But there's plenty over there. We will open it up to Q&A, and again, keep the questions respectful and to issues. And with that, does anybody have a question of any of the people here tonight? Yes, Guy Karen. Use the mic.
Hi, Guy Karen, 238 Elm Street. I have a question for candidate Hikel. John, earlier one of your opponents classified you as having a political agenda, and we both know nothing could be further from the truth. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to respond to that charge.
Thank you, Guy, for the question. Yeah, I heard that. I wouldn't call this a political agenda at a candidates' night. I would call this an agenda to preserve the rights of the people who grant the authority to their elected representatives to represent them on these different boards and everywhere else that they happen to be elected to. We have a very different philosophy between the two of us. I am a small business owner as well, and the last year that I was chair of the planning board, we had more satisfied applicants come to in front of the planning board and get approved and start getting the shovel in the ground much quicker than I believe ever before. We are not the town of no anymore, as we have been with the previous with the speaker that you are requesting or asking about. The reputation of Goffstown has been horrendous throughout the state, and most people and businesses don't want to locate here because they understand who they were standing in front of and never getting the approvals. That didn't happen while I was here, and I represent the people. I stand for the people. I stand for the people all the time over the bureaucracy without a question.
Any other questions of any candidate? Yes, sir. And I should say, say your name before you ask the question.
The name is Leonard Stewart, Worthley Hill Road. The question is for candidate Burt.
you've suggested cutting about $5 off the tax rate. What are your specific proposals and ideas for how you would achieve that?
Thank you for that question. What we need to do is look at every line item. We have waste in our town. We have waste in the highway department. That is probably where the biggest waste is. We need to look there. Also, our employees are currently paying 10% for their health care. Most places, especially the private sector, is paying 30 and 40%. I think we need to look at that. There's a lot of areas that we have to look at. Like I said, we should take the grants that are good, and the grants that are not, we shouldn't. But there is waste that is going on in this town, and we have to look at it all. Once I start looking at the budget, I know there's going to be more there that, with the spending of especially in the highway department. I want to say that's probably where the most of it is. Thank you.
I recognize Joanne Duffy for a question.
I actually have a different question, but I'd like to ask a follow-up to that answer. You just stated, Mr. Burt, that there's a lot of waste going on, and when you have a chance to look at the budget, you would maybe do things differently. Weren't you a member of the Budget Committee recently? Could you answer what you did while you were a member of the Budget Committee?
Thank you very much. And again, I'm sorry I have a cold and for my voice. One thing I did is I tried to cut a principal's salary. It was for Principal Hunt. He wasn't worth what we were paying him. Everybody knew it. So I said, let's cut it. Of course, the vote didn't go anywhere. They said it wasn't our purview. So I did look at the budget. I also tried to cut some of the highway department. I'm not saying that we need to go from $27 down to $24. What I am saying is we need to slow the growth down. So, if we can go from 27 down to 25, that'd be great, and let the other towns catch up to us. This isn't going to happen in one day. This isn't going to happen in 3 years. It is a huge process to get there. And I'm going to ask the other selectmen to please, we have to look at this. The biggest thing we need to do is bring industry in here, or business. We have 6% to 7% business. That's it. Manchester is 40%. Bedford is 37%, approximate. It's unacceptable. Thank you.
I just wanted to kind of follow. It's a follow-up, but it leads into the question I was going to ask initially.
Okay.
Mr. Burt stated when he was up earlier, not now, but earlier, he said that the Ready, Set, Go program is a grant, and he insinuated that it was not good for the community. And it's sort of a two-part question for Mr. Hikel.
Is this for Mr. Hikel? Have a seat.
No, it's actually for both.
Okay.
And Mr. Hikel said that the Ready, Set, Go program, beware of the Ready, Set, Go program, that it's coming to our community. And he said it was similar to Plan Penardville. I'm very familiar with the Ready, Set, Go program as a town planner. I'd like to hear what the two candidates who are against Ready, Set, Go, why they're against it, what they think that it is, and since it is something that would bring possibly businesses into our community, they're sort of talking out of both sides of their mouth, in my opinion. So I'd like to
Get
hear
to the question. The question is,
I'd like to hear what they have to say about the Ready, Set, Go program, because they just mentioned it and said that they were against it. They didn't say why, and they didn't say what it is. I don't think they even have a clear understanding of what it is.
Again, that's editorializing. The question is what's Ready, Set, Go? And
What is it, and why are you against it?
Very good. Mr. Hikel or Mr. Burt, which one wants to go first?
No, I'll
go
go
ahead.
while I'm standing here.
Okay, go ahead, John.
Why I'm against it is because it's from the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission. It is a grant that we do not need. It is a program that we do not need. We have a private sector that will cost us nothing to use. We're going to have to pay dues to get into this thing. And the other thing is it's going to remove the control. What their main goal is in this, if you look at the deep down in the rules here, the main goal of this Ready, Set, Go program is to remove the control of the local zoning and planning board. This is Plan Pinardville without pictures. We killed Plan Pinardville because they were dumb enough to put pictures up. That is what their mistake was. And they're bringing Ready, Set, Go program without pictures, so that way we're all fooled. I'm not fooled.
Ready, Set, Go program is a program that was coined to have properties ready for companies to be able to view online and see that they are already approved and they're already ready to go. The good part about that is we can market Goffstown. We can market the empty lots. We can market things about it that may bring businesses in here. And you know well, because as town planner of Hooksett, Bass Pro Shop wasn't looking at Goffstown, your town, they looked at Hooksett. And you're very pleased and honored to have them over there. Good for you. Ready, Set, Go program will take that authority out of the planning board and away from the zoning board. It will put it so it's ready to go right from the planning director, right at town hall, and it will take the checks and the balances away from the board, which is elected by the people to watch out for the people's interest. And that's what Ready, Set, Go does. I'm not against it. I just don't like it. So that's my opinion of Ready, Set, Go.
Could we hear the other two planning board candidates and what their views are on Ready, Set, Go and what they believe Ready, Set, Go is? Because I can tell you as a town planner, Ready, Set, Go is not what Mr. Burt described.
All right, and the other candidate for John Burt is Peter Georgantis. Is that what you want to hear from?
No, the two planning board.
Two planning board members, okay. Phil Devanza, do you have any comments?
First of all, I'd like everybody to know that Ready, Set, Go program has been presented to the planning board by Economic Development Council. We have some Economic Development Council members here in the audience. Am I telling the truth? They came and made a presentation to the planning board. Some questions were asked by the planning board of economic development. Economic development said that they would come back to the planning board with those answers. We're still waiting for the answers. Until I have the answers, until I have the information, I can't make a determination whether I'm for something or I'm against something. As an elected official, I represent all the people. I need all the information. My understanding of Ready, Set, Go, which is from Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission that everybody's against, is made up of 13-member communities. Our neighbors, Bedford, Hooksett, New Boston, Ware is in it, Manchester is in it, Londonderry, Derry, are all part of the I-93 corridor. The traffic comes up through here. That's just a group of communities that have 49 commissioners. They're all our neighbors. They have an executive board with 13 members, and we're part of them. They're our neighbors. They're us. We all look at this, and we all have a goal for economic development into the area. We'll all have an airport that serves all of us, and we all have a common view that any business that comes into the area actually is a benefit to everybody because it provides jobs. Now, just because it goes to one community or another community, that's the local control. it's not a program that's going to come in here and take over Goffstown. If that was, why would all the other members that are our neighbors, they're all involved with it?
I'm going to have to do some learning on Ready, Set, Go. I've been left in the dust. Jim Raymond, you get comments.
Thank you. I'm detecting a hostility in certain candidates to the regional planning agencies. Our regional planning is Southern New Hampshire. The one in the Merrimack County that I deal with more with our towns is Central New Hampshire Planning. They are an invaluable planning resource. They offer advice. They don't come with strings. We're foolish if we don't take advantage of them. They have a number of planners on their staff. We have one. When we need help, my towns need help, we go to them. Second, on Ready, Set, Go, it's modeled on the theory that if you can get pre-approval by the local board, then developers can market property. They don't have to land a client, come back, then try to get the approvals and get dragged out through the approval process. Town that has been very successful on a similar approach, it's not Ready, Set, Go, is Bedford, which is one of our clients. They have a master plan concept where you can master plan a project, it's vested, and then you can market it over time. They have performance zoning, which does the same thing. Drive down Route 3, you'll see how successful that has been. Now, we don't have the flat area, we don't have the highway, but Ready, Set, Go is a similar planning concept. It's a tool to use to bring in businesses without their having to spend the time after they commit to go through the planning process. Again, it's a tool. I think we'd be foolish not to take advantage of it. It doesn't give up local control. It gives us another tool in our toolbox. I'm in favor of it now. It's still in the draft form. It will be tweaked. We don't have the final, but it's something we should look seriously at, and I'm going to do that. Thank you.
Elizabeth Dubrulle, you got a question?
Yeah, I'm going to change topic here. This is for the candidates, both of the candidates running for selectmen.
Yes.
In the next 3 years, all 4 of the town's union contracts will come up for renegotiation. In recognition of the fact that about 75% of the town's employees are union members, what approach do you think would be most effective in these negotiations to manage costs without alienating valuable employees?
John, I'll start with you, alphabetically.
Thank you for that question. Again, we have to look at the health care. That is a huge expense. We have to look at, their benefit package. I mean, do they deserve good pay and good benefits? Absolutely. But we also have to be competitive with the rest of the, with the private sector, and then also with the other towns around us. There's a lot of things that they have removed. One is, what is it called? Longevity pay. The county got rid of it 15 years ago. We don't have that in many more in most towns around. So I think we have to look at that. Do we remove it? No, we have to look at it. Same way with the health care and the other items I said. We just have to open the book up and say, okay, what is fair? Thank you.
Peter Georgantis.
Coming up this year and the next 2 years, union contracts are coming up for negotiation. That's a good question, Elizabeth. The unions have to be, you have to deal with the unions, you have to be reasonable, and you have to have common sense. I know that last year we voted on a contract at the DPW, and there were some concessions made. I think that starts the ball rolling. I know that this year that they've been negotiating and they haven't had a lot of luck, but I think as the consensus builds, and that's what we need to do as a community and as boards, the Board of Selectmen and the employees, we need to build a consensus on what the town can afford. John did hit it right. We do have some concessions that need to be made on the health. They did it on the DPW. And I'm sure something's going to come through with the police and fire, who are the 2 contracts that are up right now. You talked just about the union contracts, but we also need to take care of our non-union employees too. At the budget committee this year, we took a little bit of a hit on them, but we need to develop a program for those people also, which we don't have right now. So as far as the union contracts, that's a consensus needs to be built. We need to all work together on it, and I don't think those people are stubborn. They realize what's going on in the communities and in the surrounding towns, and we'll just all have to work together to get it handled.
Thank you. Pam Manney, go ahead. Sorry. Bill Wynn?
Yes, I jumped ahead a lot.
Yeah, well, you don't look anything like Pam Manney. Go ahead, Bill.
There you go. Everybody knows both of us. Thank you very much, Mr. Plutt. I have questions for the three planning board representatives that are here. I'm kind of glad that Ready, Set, Go did come up because some people were afraid of it. Most people don't know about it. But one of the things that concerns me is about Ready, Set, Go, and I'll get to my question based on this information, is the fact that when you look at the program, which is available on the Goffstown website, it's clearly states it is for the community and developers. And when I look at the developer end of it, because it's supposed to benefit both of them, and believe me, it really does say that. And then you've got Tony Martz, for example, who is the member of the Goffstown Industrial Corp. LLC with Mr. Devanza on it as a member. When you get these type of things involved in town, you got to kind of wonder who is it really for? Let's just say it leans towards the developer because of the undisclosed information. So my question here...
remember I started this with editorial comments. Get to the question.
I need to get to my question based on information I just presented.
Well, that wasn't information. That was an editorial comment. Get to the question.
Thank you, Mr. Plutt. I would like each individual to tell me this evening, why would you continue to support or not support something like Ready, Set, Go when hundreds of people didn't want it based on facts and smart decisions? I'd like to know from each of the planning board candidates how they feel about that when the community did not, and for example, Mr. Devanza fought for it so hard, tooth and nail to the end. I'd like to hear a response to that. Thank you.
I guess the question is what's their attitude with respect to is it Ready, Set, Go?
Well, for example, let's take Plan Penardville. Okay, we'll base the question on that. But Ready, Set, Go is the same thing. And here's the question, Mr. Plutt. The question is, why did Plan Penardville get pushed so hard by individuals in official capacity in the town, while the individuals in the community fought so hard because they didn't want it? And I'd like to know the answer why some of the officials fought for it and some of them didn't, and I'd like each planning board candidate to jump on that.
All right, you've heard the question, and do anybody want to start the process? Phil? Oh, Jim, go ahead. Whatever. Next.
In the legal world, you have to establish a foundation for a question. I don't know what your foundation is. I can't answer why certain people opposed something that wasn't Ready, Set, Go. You're talking about Plan Penardville. If you want to talk about Plan Ready, Set, Go, it's a planning tool that we should look at. And yes, it can favor a developer, but it can also favor the town. That's the role of the planning board, to look at that. We're not abdicating that role. It's just a way to give us a tool to attract business development to Goffstown if that's what people want to do. Now, you can do that through zoning, which requires a vote by the people. If you're going to rezone, it's more of just a procedural tool to have a way to evaluate proposals. We've worked, some suggestion that we didn't do this before. Throughout my tenure, we worked to streamline our regulations so we could speed up the approval process. And I know there's a comment about how difficult Goffstown is. I do development work in a lot of towns. I represent planning boards in a lot of towns. We are much better than most. I won't say we're the best, because we don't have the depth of staff that's required. But if you are on the spectrum of towns, we are pretty good. So I don't think we have to apologize, but Ready, Set, Go may give us another way to achieve what's established as a goal in the master plan of attracting good businesses to New Hampshire and to Goffstown. Now, there's been comments that it's a regional plan. It is. It's hard to sell towns by themselves. You need to attract attention to a region and then sell yourself. Each town has different attributes to offer. We are a good town to live in and a good town to locate in. I think we can sell, but we've got to get the people to come and look at the region and then look at Goffstown. That's one of the benefits of Ready, Set, Go. Is it perfect? No, we haven't finished working with it. I haven't been on the board with it, but we should continue forward to analyze it and use it if we decide it's a good plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond. And I enjoyed rubbing elbows with you on the board years back. We had a good time.
Phil, do you want to take a crack at it, and then I'll ask John.
Thank you. I guess, though, I'm a little, I don't understand if we're talking about Ready, Set, Go, we're talking about Plan Bernardville. Microphone is for the viewing, it's not for here.
But getting closer anyway.
Okay. So we're talking about Ready, Set, Go, we're talking about Plan Bernardville.
Take a choice.
Hey, it's
but
your question.
All right, my question. In your particular circumstance, Mr. Devanza, you supported Plan Bernardville, so let's go there, while the community did not.
Okay, you say I supported Plan Bernardville?
Vigorously.
How?
We're not in dialogue here. If you could just answer the question.
The rule of a moderator is to, if all questions come to a moderator, you ask your question about either Plan Bernardville or Ready, Set, Go.
I just clarified Plan Bernardville, Mr. Platt, but at the same time, he engaged me in dialogue.
Right,
He
and
shouldn't
I'm
have
stopping
done
that. He can answer the question.
He shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
My question...
The only thing I can tell you, you say that I supported Plan Bernardville. I'm a selectman's rep on the planning board. I've come back and I make my reports to the Board of Selectmen. And I said to the Board of Selectmen that I have not attended any of the Plan Bernardville meetings. I have not engaged in the Plan Bernardville meetings. I am waiting for the final product to come to the planning board. Once the final product is presented to the planning board, as I stated earlier, then I could see the product. I don't want to get predisposed on pros or cons before. I don't want to have biases. I want to be able to see the finished product when it comes to the planning board, go through it. I will ask questions of the board, and then I will make my mind. Now, I'm being told that I was out supporting it. Just the question that I have is, I don't know where I was supporting it. So,
Okay.
Perhaps you forgot.
I started out saying no ad hominem personal attacks and no questioning of motives, and I'm beginning to hear it. I want it to stop. You have a question, ask a question. Mr. Hikel?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I can give you a little bit of history. I was on the Plan Bernardville ad hoc committee. Before I was on that, I was asked if I would like to be on it. I was in the lunchroom at Town Hall with Brian Rose and Derek Horn and Tony Martz, and I think it was Derek or Brian that said, we know that you like the idea of fixing the Mass Road corridor. How would you like to be on this committee? Because Plan Bernardville will do that. And I thought about it, and I said, well, what you're telling me it will do is exactly what the petition was last year, and they kind of looked at each other and froze. But that aside, I got to see the entire process of Plan Bernardville. I understand it very well. I went through every meeting. I got to read it. I got to understand it, the entire process. What really turned me off is when I saw Shaw's parking lot filled with subsidized apartment buildings and no room for parking for the stores. And they were telling me it's just a plan. It's just a plan. You guys are at the office across the street at Bank of America looking at this place every day for a week, and all you can do is envision apartment buildings in Shaw's parking lot? I thought it was a bad plan, and that's why I killed it on the planning board. And when we recommended it to the planning board, that's why it ended right there. Ready, Set, Go, from what I understand, and we had a presentation from Derek Horn, because they're looking for lots, like the one with the antennas down in the Goffstown Back Road. Goffstown Back Road, it's been for sale for 25 years. It's way overpriced. Nobody wants it. It's got nothing to do with the infrastructure or the location. It borders Manchester. It just doesn't have the right thing. They can run sewer across the water. They can run water there. Anybody, project manager with enough money, can build whatever they want. The reason, but he wants to change the zoning to this flex, this multi-use kind of property. But Ready, Set, Go, I understand it. I don't necessarily support it because it takes the power, it takes the authority away from the planning board, again, which is granted to us by you, not by town hall. So, and I also want to say that my opponent, who was on the planning board for 19 years, never planned for any infrastructure to do things and develop this town. So I'm kind of sitting here going, where was the plan for 19 years? Didn't happen. I need your vote on March 11th and get this planning board back for the people, and I really appreciate that.
Pam Manney.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I did have another question, but after that last remark, I would like Mr. Raymond to get up and tell people exactly what he was doing in those 19 years.
Okay. Fair enough.
Apparently nothing. You could look at the corridor study we had done. You could look at the study we did for the village. You can look at the mixed-use development we promoted along Mast Road. You can look at developments like Addington Square, which has won a number of awards. You can look at businesses like Tire Warehouse, which was brought in and worked on in a way right beside the river that was done so it wouldn't create sediment into the river, a major engineering challenge, and we required it, and they did it so it wouldn't block the ice house. We made that be an attribute to the community. That takes work, that takes good planning. It's not easy. It does take planning. It's not, sure, you want to come to Goffstown, go ahead. I don't know how you can say we didn't do anything. If you haven't read the corridor study, you haven't paid attention. That took a lot of work. It was a big community effort, and it's part of our master plan, and I think it was an important step for Goffstown. That alone was a major accomplishment. I won't say any more. Thank you.
I read that corridor study. It kept me on the straight and narrow.
Can I now ask the question I wanted to ask?
Sure, go ahead. I just had to throw my bad pun in there.
Hey, no. I would like to ask the Board of Selectmen candidates, I've heard a lot of, to me, negative, and I'd like to hear some positive. I'd like to hear what they think is good about this town.
Okay. John?
Thank you, Pam, for that question. What is good for this town? What is good because of Goffstown?
No, what is good about this town? When you think of Goffstown, what are the good things you can say?
Would you get up to the...
I apologize.
Nope.
What was the question?
My question is, I've heard a lot of negative.
Yep.
I would like to know what each Board of Selectmen candidate, what is good about this town? When you say Goffstown, you could say, Goffstown is great, I love it because, or I think it's good because.
Thank you. The number one reason, my wife. She was born and raised here. Her last name is Santonge. There's a million of them running around. And that is what brought me to Goffstown. She also said, and I agree, that there is a lot of good. We have a great high school. This high school is great. We have a low budget per student, which is attractive. We have a highway department. You know, I was negative on them, but bottom line, when they plow our roads, they do a great job. We have a police force that I'm happy with. I think the crime is fairly low, especially compared to Manchester, and I think a lot of that is because of the police force. You know, anytime my neighbors have called the fire department or the emergency service, you know, for the ambulance, you know, they were here quick. So we do have a lot of positive. I just want to bring it at the best value that we can without jeopardizing any of those services. And I think I can do that. Thank you.
Peter DeGentis, want to follow up?
It's hard to disagree with some of the things John said, but the number one thing about Goffstown is its people. We have a great community here, great volunteers. We have great staff, great people working for our town. Going back to the questions on how do they have to be compensated. We can't be cutting things just because we think it's not right. Our community is great. We have a good fire department. We have a good police department. We didn't mention the Parks and Rec program that we have up at Mountain View, where we have the basketball, or our swimming pools, Roy Park, Barnard. Goffstown has a lot to offer, and there's a lot of good things about it, but most of all, it's their people. Thank you.
Madam, did you have a question? Do you have a question, madam? Yes, I do. Please step up. Your name?
Hi, my name is Gady Benner. Can you hear me?
Gady, no, speak up so the people in the audience can hear you. That's for the benefit of the television, so anybody watching this through TV can hear you. What did you say your name was?
My name is Gady Benner, and I live on 12 Joffrey Street.
Yes.
And before I ask my question, I just wanted to say that by coincidence, I found the Ready, Set, Go program.
Very good.
That was sent to us by Derek Horn. And this program was also sent to the planning board. I believe it was in October, and I made a copy of it. And to show that it is similar to Plan Penardville, I highlighted a few pages.
Get to the question. Do you have a question?
Okay. The question is, well, I would like to present some of the similarities of the Ready, Set, Go program.
I want a question.
Okay. Well, it is similar, and I can prove it by this here, okay? The Ready, Set, Go program has been condensed from this with pictures to this without pictures, and I want to ask Mr. Devanza, why would he support a plan like that, okay, when the people did not want this plan to begin with?
Okay, I understand. Why is he supporting Ready, Set, Go? Is that the question?
Why did he support Plan Penardville? And why is he going to support the Ready, Set, Go program when there are alike plans, they're the same plans, and the people do not want this plan?
I think he answered that, but I'll give him another crack. Yeah. We'll give him another crack.
The planning board hasn't gotten all its questions answered from economic development, which is what made the presentation to the planning board. And I stated before, until all the information is brought forth to the planning board, I can't make a determination on it. I haven't made up my mind which way I am. I can't make up my mind until all the information is presented to us, to the planning board, at an official meeting.
But there was an official meeting, and I have the copies here, sir.
That's your question. Do you have another question? Thank you. Anybody else with a question? Yes, sir. And I can't remember your name. I should.
James Butcher.
Yeah,
Yes,
sorry, James.
Yeah, I have a question for the selectmen. With the fire contract coming up and the fire department in a pretty derelict state, I was just wondering if either of you two had ever given any thought to perhaps possibly privatizing the fire department in order to save the residents of town some money, where they could prepay, and if they did not choose to prepay, they would still be covered, but they may get billed after the fact for the fire protection services. I just wanted to know if either of you had an opinion on that.
Okay, this is a consideration of privatizing the fire department?
Yes, yes.
That's a
Have you
burning issue,
considered
so I'll give them a chance.
privatizing the fire department at all.
Okay.
Thank you for that question. To be honest, no, I haven't looked at that. I guess we could. I think we have a good fire department. I think our buildings probably need a update to accommodate the new, fire fire stations. But no, I haven't really looked at it. So I guess I would have to look at it and see what other towns have done, if they've done it. If somebody presented it to me, I guess I would want all of the selectmen to look at it. But currently, right now, I'm pretty happy with what we have, but if there was a alternative, I guess, I would ask the whole board of select board to look at it. Thank you.
Peter Giorgetti, you want to take a crack at it?
I've never looked at that concept either, But I do know that they did look at privatizing an ambulance service at one time. And I know if you've read the news, you'll see in Manchester, that's been an issue also. So I'm not sure where our ambulance service now is tied in with our fire department. If you would be privatizing both is something that, I wouldn't consider going with right now. But, if somebody came up with a good plan and it looked like a good idea, I'd be more than happy to look at it. Now, I also served on the update committee for the fire department that John mentioned, that redoing the buildings, which is on this year's ballot. So there's a lot of things that the fire department needs to do to upgrade their facilities. Their equipment's in pretty good shape right now, so I don't think we're looking at privatizing anything like that anytime soon.
Thank you.
Anybody else with a question? Is anybody else, give you a crack after anybody else has had a chance? Ma'am?
Hi, my name is Barbara Gordon, and I live on Goffstown, Terrell Hill Road. Been here 15 years, maybe 18. My question is for the planning board members. I'd like to know what the plan is to reduce the taxes rather than every year have them go up. We moved here because the taxes were low, because it's a nice rural area. We were living right in the city in Manchester, and we wanted to get out of the city.
Okay. You asked the
love
question.
Love it here, but
okay.
We can't stay if the taxes go up. So I want to know what the plan is.
You asked the question of the planning board members. I'll let the planning board candidates answer, but the selectmen might have something to say about it as well.
Okay.
Planning board members, going in alphabetical order, Phil Devanza.
I would anticipate that the planning board would work cooperatively with the Economic Development Council that we have, and also the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen has their goals, and one of their goals is to increase economic development in the community, and we need to work with them to try to accommodate whatever we can do as far as economic development through location, programs that was mentioned before that seems to be controversial as to one thing that would help promote it. But it's working cooperatively with the other boards within the town to try to work on that.
John, take a crack.
Thank you for the question. That was an excellent question. My idea of helping the incredibly high property taxes in this town. I'm talking to people at my shop that are paying $8, $9, $10, $11, $12,000 a year in property taxes. That's outrageous. I know we need economic development. I know we need economic development. We need to increase our commercial tax base. That has never been done. It's been talked about for 20 years. It's been talked about for a long time. I've been in town for about 12 years now, and it's been talked about all that time also. The problem is the spending. We've got government officials that no matter how much you give them, they spend it, and they find ways to spend it before they even get it. We need to stop that. We need to control our spending, increase our revenue, just like any other business does, and I think we could solve those problems. But we're never going to solve it by increasing revenue if we continue to outspend the revenue with expenses.
Tell him he went home. Does anybody know how to shut that thing off? I don't know, but it's providing some editorial comment. He's gone voting. Give it a second, Jim, before I recognize you. See if we can get that off. Okay, Jim?
I'm only getting up so I don't feel left out. I think as I talked in my presentation, I'm an advocate of responsible planning. As Mr. Hikel did comment, the tax rate or taxes are a function of spending. You do want to increase your tax base, but you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We still have to live in this town. We like living here. We want to protect our neighborhoods. So I'm not going to open the floodgates for development just to increase tax base. I think that's a mistake. It's our town. Let's protect it as well. So it's a balance between developing business and protecting what we have, and that would be my goal. Thank you.
The question was asked of the planning board members. They've all had a shot at it. Do either of the selectmen candidates want to address the question?
And what was it?
The question.
Full question.
The question was essentially the tax base, how to keep it in control, the tax rate. Yeah.
That's why I stand here. We have to keep it under control, and it's not. Why are we 27-11 and Manchester hooks it and everybody else around us is 22, except for Bow, they are 30. But nobody's moving to Bow, or at least from Goffstown they're not. People are losing their homes here. There was a comment made on the budget committee one time. People, they were talking about keeping the taxes down and et cetera. And somebody said, you know, the board members were saying how they, you know, there's people that can't afford their taxes. And somebody on the board says, really? Who are these people? I've never seen them. When I heard that, I almost fell out of my recliner. I mean, I'm just going, are you serious? There are people in this town hurting. And that's why I'm running for selectman. Thank you.
Peter?
I'm going to hold my tongue. As chairman of the last year's budget committee, there's two people right here that voted for a state budget that sent down to us, taxpayers of Goffstown, over $730,000 in expenses. About $1 on your tax rate. They voted for that budget. All right? So that's, you can't always say it's the town departments that are doing it, or it's the people that are doing it, or it's the fire department or the highway department. Okay? We have all these unfunded mandates from the state. Don't blame Goffstown, all Goffstown on this. Blame your state reps who aren't representing you in Concord. Sorry for editorializing.
Is there somebody I have not recognized for a question? Yes. Oh, Barbara, go ahead, and then I'll recognize Philip.
Carboneau, Goffstown. I've been lived here, more than years, over 40 years anyway. I just have a question for each selectman.
Okay.
Mr. Burt, how long have you been a resident of Goffstown?
I bought my wife bought her house in 2003. I bought mine, which is the neighbor's house, which is just a shack. It's a shed now, in 2004, early 2004. I moved to Woodsville, New Hampshire in '98, and I'm from Vermont.
Thank you. And Mr. Georgantis.
My parents bought a house. My parents bought a house on Tibbetts Hill, the corner of Tibbetts Hill Road and Center Street, in December of 1953. I was 5 months old when we moved to Goffstown. I did spend a little bit of time out on the West Coast. I had a brother out there, and I went to work for him out there for 13 years. But other than that, I've lived in Goffstown.
Thank you very much.
It reminds me, you said 5 months old. I moved to New Hampshire when I was 9, and I'm reminded I'm a newcomer. Flatlander, not native by Jesus. Phyllis Burt.
Hi, well, my name is Phyllis Burt.
Yes.
I've lived in Goffstown my whole life. My parents were, my father's side of the family was born in Goffstown at the Moore General Hospital, where a lot of them were born. I would like to have the two state representatives be able to comment on the question regarding the state budget and why they voted for the state budget that allegedly downshifted monies to the towns.
Well, Burt comes before Hikel, so I'll give you first crack.
Thank you for that question. My first term, we voted for an 11% reduction in the state budget. I was told that if we did that, there would be devastation in the streets. Just devastation. We passed it. It worked well. There was no downshifting in that budget. Now, was there downshifting in the previous Democrat-controlled budget? Yes. And that did go into the current budget that I voted on, but it did not come from my vote. So I never voted for the downshifting. This term, they adopted virtually the same budget. And again, the downshifting came from the 2008-2009 session, which I was not a member of. What they did is they put in that these items, like the retirement, we're not going to pay the 40%. They went down to 35%, 30, and I think 25. And now they wiped it out. That came from the previous administration, and they said it will take effect into these years. So yes, I voted for that budget, but the stepping stones were already in place. So I did not vote for the downshifting. In the Democrat-controlled House, Democrat-controlled governor's office, and the Republican-controlled Senate adopted virtually, with just a few small adjustments, the same budget because it was a great budget. We have a surplus in the state budget this year. Thank you.
Michael?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I was elected to the New Hampshire House in 2008. I can tell you that the 2006-2008 Democrat majority left us in 2010 with almost a $1 billion deficit that we had to make up at the state level. We were looking straight down the barrel of broad-based taxes, sales and income taxes, and New Hampshire prides itself for not having either one of those. So Speaker O'Brien, myself, and the leadership team took it upon ourselves to find places where we can spread the pain. And it was painful. And we knew that everybody wasn't going to get everything they wanted. We needed to make cuts or we were going to be in desperate trouble in the state. And if that happened there, you would have been in a lot of trouble here in Goffstown. So we took a little bit from here, we took a little bit from there, we made it work. We ended with a surplus in the next budget, in that budget that we passed, and it came true last June when we looked at it and saw that we had a $25 million budget, a surplus. And we came from an $800 to $1 billion deficit that the Republican House was left with from Governor Lynch and his Democrat majority. That's why you had a downshifting, that you call it, because of irresponsible spending or contracts that were put in place before you got there. Had nothing to do with the legislature. If it wasn't for us, you would have been far more broke than you were today. And I thank you very much. We worked hard for you people, and we're much better off for it today, whether you believe it or not.
Anybody I have not recognized for a question? If not, Mr. Burt, Scary,
Mr. Wynn.
Mr. Bill Wynn, I'll recognize you for a follow-on question.
I'll make this very simple. Yeah. This question is directed to the two selectman candidates, and it's about the code of conduct. And my question to the candidates: when you are an elected official or an employee of the town or whatever, you get presented to you a code of conduct. That code of conduct has several guidelines, not guidelines, but several requirements in this town. I would like to know how you two potential people who may have on the select board handle the situation we have today in town hall, with employees selling tickets to a private birthday party, email systems being used to notify people, computer resources being used, and the people on the select board have failed to meet that code of conduct, and in fact, they failed to report. So the question is, Mr. Platt, Mr. Platt, you have to have substance to ask a question.
Ask the question.
I did.
Okay, what's
the question is, will the two selectmen support the code of conduct? Unlike the selectman candidates,
that's where you go into editorial candidate comment. Will the selectmen support the code of conduct? Is that the question?
That's correct. Unlike this current selectman we have in office. And this is not a spelling bee,
address
Mr.
that.
Platt.
I'll talk, Bill. I understand what your question is. Will I accept the code of conduct? I will accept the code of conduct, absolutely. But I'm also going to accept, and now I'm going to editorialize, I'm going to accept that this is a community of all of us. We all work together, whether it's the town hall, the police department fund, the fire department fund. This is a community, Bill, and you guys are trying to destroy it. And that's wrong what you're doing, okay? I anticipate that I will be over there to buy a ticket, and I hope I can get it at the town hall. Thank you.
So you support violating the code of conduct?
You asked the question, it got answered.
Let the record show that Mr. Georgianis supports violating the Goffstown Code of Conduct as an elected official.
You asked the question, it got answered. Now let the other candidate answer the question.
Thank you. And the answer is absolutely yes.
Thank you,
I
Mr.
will endorse the code of conduct and support it and exercise it and everything else. And real quick on the last question, I know I'm probably going to get in trouble, but why, if there's so much devastation with the downshift allegedly that happened, why are we $27 and the other towns around us are 22 plus? So where's the devastation there?
Thank you. Is there another question?
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
could planning board candidates answer that question?
Make sure I understand the question. The question is about the code of conduct?
No, it's about what Mr. Burt just said about why our tax rate is higher than surrounding areas. I think it's pretty clear why, but perhaps the planning board candidates could ask us, why is our tax rate higher than others?
Thank you. I'm glad you repeated the question. I didn't want two ships passing the night, so I understand the question now, which is why 27 versus 22?
Sure.
And who wants to tackle that first, the planning board? Go ahead. Okay, go ahead, Jim.
We do tax abatement cases for our towns. If you look at tax rate, you're only looking at one piece. If you've studied math, to get to a product, you multiply two factors. To get to the amount of money that the town needs to spend in any 1 year, it takes its total assessed value of property, which DRA calculates for us, and you divide it, you divide that into the amount you're going to want to raise by tax. That gives you your tax rate. But for example, let's say every property in Goffstown is worth $500,000, I wish, and you wanted to raise in your budget $100,000. Do the math. You'd have a tax rate of 20%. Let's say instead of having $500,000 houses, we had $1 million houses. This is Bedford. And you still want to raise $100,000 for money. What does your tax rate do? It's now 10%. You're dividing the same amount that you're going to spend into a bigger tax base. So if you focus just on rate, you're missing part of the picture. It's not the proper measure. You should look at your total tax burden, not tax rate. So I disagree with the emphasis on tax rate. It's because our properties aren't as valuable as some of these other towns, but we have seen, partially through planning, partially because Bedford, frankly, is overbuilt, that our average house price is going up. It used to be we were the sort of the low end among the towns around Goffstown. We're moving up in the world. Our tax rate is going, our tax base is going up. And that's partially the result, thank you, of what the planning board did in its planning process. But don't focus, please, just on tax rate. That's only one of the numbers, and it's the wrong number to focus on. Thank you.
Phil or John, do you want to tackle? Huh? John? Or, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. And I do agree with Mr. Raymond on that. The tax rate is not what we should be focusing on, but we should be focusing on, I'll tell you, when I lived in Nashua for 25 years, during the real estate boom, when everybody was feeling rich, remember that? 10, 15 years ago, we were all feeling like we had a lot of money. because our house is worth a lot and we could go sign to refinance our house with no signature and get 125% of the assessed value. Remember when you thought you had a lot of money? Now you don't? What happened? The value of the property has been reassessed and reevaluated. When I was in Nashua, my house was reevaluated 3 times in 1 year. December, June, and December. And when I called the assessor, he said, well, Jesus, you're making it's getting so much more valuable so fast that we need to collect some of that money. The problem is, I think that we can't control government spending, and when they see an opportunity to take more from the slaves, they do. And it's real clear, because that's what they've done. When I was first elected to the House, I heard Dan Eaton, he was a Democrat leadership. He said, Republicans and Democrats are pretty different. I hate to make this partisan, but I got to tell you, he said Democrats decide what they want to spend and then they tax for it. And Republicans decide what they want to tax and then they determine what they want to spend. So that was really clear. That's when I realized that I was a very conservative Republican.
Phil?
Jim addressed the valuation of the property. And just a small comparison on that, if you're familiar with the area across from the old, what used to be the Animal Rescue League, which is now Wicked. If you look up there, you see a bunch of rocks. That's some of Goffstown's industrial land. It's worth a lot of money, isn't it? A bunch of rocks going up the hill. When you go to Bedford, you don't have as much rocks. So that's why their land is assessed more. If you take a building lot in Goffstown versus a building lot in Bedford, Bedford building lot is more money. That's Jim's part. The other thing, when you look at Goffstown and you look at Bedford, what do we have that Bedford doesn't have? We have a lot of services that people like. They don't have. They pay for them in Bedford. That's also reflected in the difference in the tax rate. So when you look at one town's tax rate and say it's 22, you look at another town's tax rate and say it's 27, you have to compare apples to apples. And there's one other thing that you have to remember. To compare the apples to apples, another part of the math, there's another part to that formula that's called the equalizer factor. That's a little number. That could be 0.95, it could be 1.10. You have to take that number and you have to multiply it. That's what equalizes the land over the years, depending on when the assessment was. If an assessment in Goffstown was just done and an assessment in Bedford was done 4 years ago, or vice versa, that also affects your tax rate. So there are several factors in it. You cannot just look at the tax rate.
I'm noting the time. It's a couple of minutes of 9. If you have a burning question, there'll be the last one. No pun intended in this case, but Kimberly Peace.
Thank you. My name is Kimberly Peace, and I have served on the Conservation Commission in this town for over 8 years. And I just have a question for the planning board candidates. I hear a lot of discussion about lowering our taxes and economic development, and that's all good, and everybody wants lower taxes. But in terms of the Conservation Commission and what attracts us to this town is part of it is preserving our natural resources. And we do that through proper planning, and we do that through proper regulations. And so my question is, how do you balance economic development and attracting new businesses and lowering our taxes with protection of those resources that we all enjoy and are why we live here? So if the 3 planning board candidates could answer that.
Okay, Phil?
Just to recap the question is, how do you balance? Okay. The way you balance part of it, as I mentioned earlier, we have a master plan, and that master plan is actually a reflection of what we envision as a community. When we go through that master plan process, it's a very public process. We have sections in different parts of town. I think you've been part of that, and there are many people that have been here, that's sitting here tonight, and many people on GTV that have participated in that. We come up with a vision of what we would like to see Goffstown look like. And if you look at those things, part of it is, what do we have? This is the thing that we've talked. We have natural resources. We heard earlier mention of the rail trail. The community has been looking at the rail trail. Well, I've been on the board for 23 years. I've been on the board. We started the rail trail from when it was, and look at where it is today. And there's a vision of where it's going to be when it's complete. All these things we talk about, how do we bring people here? We have a great lake. Look at what's on the warrant that we're going to be voting on. We're going to be voting on money for milfoil, to get rid of milfoil. This is something that the community has been looking at. We have appropriated money in the past. We've had these programs. We had one that we got a grant from the state to get rid of milfoil. We've all worked together. This is the vision. This is what's attracted us to Goffstown. What we need to do is to keep that vision. Don't lose that vision. A person asked earlier, what's great about Goffstown? There are a lot of things great about Goffstown. How many of us, the majority of people that are here, were not born here? I wasn't born here. I was attracted here. I used to come into this town, go into the town hall, had a clock up on the tower, and it had the old covered bridge. And I remember going in Chief Fletcher's office, and he had the pictures on there, that bridge burning, on the clock tower burning, the town hall burning. Remember that, Chief? You had those, all right? These are things that are in the past. There are things that we have that we need to preserve. This is all part of the plan, the master plan. This is part of the vision that we see. What's attracted us to it? We talked about the roads. Here's Pete Jenkins over here. Every town meeting, Pete Jenkins comes out, and what does he say? Thank God I'm in Goffstown. The roads are great. There's so much about it.
John?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you for that question. Is it Kimberly? Kimberly, I'm a sportsman. I hike, I fish, I hunt, and I do a lot of that right here in Goffstown on the conservation land. I absolutely love the work you do. I think conservation is terribly important. Conservation is as important to this community as a great library is to communities through civilizations throughout history. And I support conservation. There is a fine line between how do we get close to it and how do we still increase our revenue so we can continue to have the things that the people want in this town. But I absolutely support, and there's not one time that you or anyone else can say that I opposed or did anything to damage any conservation land. I love it, and I'm all for it, and I support you 100%. Thank you.
Jim Raymond.
Can we go home after this? It's my bedtime. My opening remarks, I talked about the balance that the planning board has to achieve, and that's a perfect example. We want to develop business opportunities, but we also want to preserve what we have. So what has the planning board done? We had one of the first effective wetland setbacks in the state that I and my wife wrote on our kitchen table to protect our wetlands, which are our flood buffer. Mr. Wynn, when he was on the planning board, worked very hard to develop the open space ordinance that we now have that clusters residential development in the outlying areas to preserve open space. That's an important step, and I give Mr. Wynn credit for that. We are looking at stream protection. We are looking at erosion control. Those are the balancing that the planning board does, and it's important to remember we have to live in this town, so we want to preserve that. Again, we're not turning Goffstown into South Willow Street. We're keeping it as a community in which we like to live, but still try to attract business, and that's the challenge and the balancing that the planning board does. Thank you.
It's 9 o'clock. Everyone's had a chance to ask a question. Thank you for participating. Okay.
Where's the
Okay.
application to join?
Yeah.
Don't forget to join the Lions Club.
I will right now.
I just wanted to thank Fred, our moderator. I want to thank all of the candidates who came tonight and all those of you who asked questions. I also would like you to come to the Goffstown Business Expo, sponsored by the Lions Club and the Economic Development Council. That's going to be on April 5th. So for some of you who own businesses in town, you can rent a booth there. And so I would encourage you to come again, April 5th, Goffstown High School. And thank you all for coming.
And just so I have the last word, thank you all for coming. Have a great day, great evening.
Peter.
Cookies and coffee over there.